wondering how the average business person in Malta is reacting to what's happening in Ireland, what happened in Greece, and what's going on in other parts of the Eurozone. Do the folks in Malta feel sufficiently buffered from the economic downturn that's shaking some of these countries up?
The downturn in that sense had an impact insofar that we, like everybody else, had to pull our socks up.
Right.
And we also had to help bail out first Greece and now Ireland.
Right.
So that has an impact on us. But I was reading an article in I think it was a Bloomberg Business Week of just December 6th, which highlighted Malta as one of the 8 countries which basically were the safe countries, and which basically stands to come out of the recovery very solid.
Well, it sounds like between the shipping and tourism that you're well buffered and in that location.
Yeah.
Now, as a small nation, it sounds like you're importing quite a bit. Who are your top trading partners?
Top trading partners, obviously the EU. In terms of the most important, I would say it's between Germany, France, Italy, and Great Britain.
The history of Malta is just fascinating. That's the topic for probably a whole different interview that would go on much longer. But I am curious. You mentioned Cartha and the Phoenicians. Malta really sounds like a melting pot of cultures and language in the Mediterranean. Can you tell us a little bit how the culture there differs from other countries in Europe?
Essentially, we are Mediterraneans of Italic stock who speak a Semitic language left to us by the Phoenicians, who were the very first Christians in Europe because we were converted by St. Paul en route to his trial and execution in Rome in AD 60. Again, we have the beneficial impact of the British period. We are relatively disciplined next to our Mediterranean neighbors. And yes, we have this benefit of the English language, which I think is one of the greatest advantages we can offer.
Does this diversity represent itself in terms of art and culture in Malta? Food, yes, music?
Yes, this diversity does. But there's one item which I left out.
Please.
But I left it out because its impact would not be immediately evident to most people until they get there, which is the megalithic temples which we have, of which 5 are World Heritage Sites, which nobody knows about. These are beautiful structures which predate the better-known Giza pyramids and Stonehenge by at least 1,000 years. And the temple builders who came to Malta then, and they came about 5,000 BC, they left 30 of these complexes before they suddenly vanished. We don't know why in 2400 BC. These temples are very well preserved. As I said, they're World Heritage Sites protected by UNESCO.
And to have 5 World Heritage Sites in a location about twice the size of Washington, D.C., there's probably nowhere else in the world that has that concentration of World Heritage Sites. That's impressive.
True. There's also a 6th one, which is the city of Valletta, which was built by the Knights.
Wow.
Most people know about the Knights of Malta. They know about Malta's role during the Second World War, but few people know about the temples, the World Heritage temples that we have.
Are there other misconceptions that that people tend to have about Malta?
I don't say that they're misconceptions. I think they're just an unawareness. People don't know that Malta exists.
Okay.
They don't know about this history that we have. Perhaps in one way it is a saving grace because we do not find ourselves overwhelmed by tourists. It's mainly the people who know, the people who are selective, the people who are interested in history who come there. It's not just your casual beach and swim type of tourist.
Is there anything that you would like citizens of the United States to know about Malta that you haven't told us yet so far in the interview?
The only thing I can add is that the most discerning people who are interested in what I have said and what we have discussed should come over to Malta and look for themselves. There they will find an opportunity to invest, if they're interested in investment, benefit from the services. We have, as we said, educational services, which are second to none. Also in terms of cultural services. We are now offering Baroque lectures, which last throughout the summer months and sometimes throughout the year. And also, I suppose at the end of the day, to live there, if they have any plans of operating in either North Africa, or why not even the EU.
I've heard that Malta has some of the highest voter turnout of any country in the world. Is that true?
That is true. Yes, and that could be due to the fact that they are very passionate people in what they believe in. Obviously, democracy is a strong point, and that is something that many people admire. They also have very strong opinions, and this is expressed in their high voter turnout.
You know, Malta sounds fantastic, and based on what you've said about being a destination for vacation, for business, where do the people that live there go for vacation? Because it sounds like they have everything they need right there.
But then so is Washington, D.C., a fantastic place to live. But even Washingtonians travel every so often. They look for a change. And perhaps it's a way of confirming their choice of residence.
Yeah.
When you go abroad, you come back saying, how lovely it is to be back. Not because you don't like where you live,
right,
or where you visited, sorry, but it's because, I suppose, it's a reinforcement of your earlier decision to live here, or to be a resident in a particular place.
In terms of political stability, is this a safe place for Americans to invest?
Oh, yes, by all means. Yeah. I mean, Malta has not got a revolutionary history. It's not that we haven't been dominated. We have been dominated. We've managed to live with the colonizers. We've even fraternized with them. We've obviously maintained our independence. We've maintained our values. We've maintained our religion. We realize that we have to coexist because we're a small country.
Yeah.
We cannot live on our own. No man is an island. Certainly Malta is not an island.
Maybe a little bit of an island.
But yes, but mentally not.
Right, right. As U.S. companies and other companies tend to do business in Malta, are they partnering with Malta companies? Are they finding distributors and agents? Are they tending to go it alone?
No, most U.S. companies are coming to Malta, particularly with a Northern African objective, are usually engaging Maltese to do their work on their behalf. Yes, they do have a shop, or they have shops. They do have an office in Malta, but their objective is, because the Maltese are so have such a capacity to integrate, we can speak with North Africans as easily as we can speak with our fellow Europeans. So they choose us to do the work for them, and basically they reap in the profits.
Now, Malta Enterprise sounds like a fantastic resource for businesses from around the world that would like to do business in or with Malta. Can you tell us a little bit more about them? Well,
Malta Enterprise is a government entity, but it isn't autonomous, and it's was set up originally way back when we first obtained independence, and over the years we have learned through our experience that we have to provide services to prospective investors in the fastest time possible. We have to be professional. We have to beat them at their own game. And the only way we can beat them at their own game is by employing people of superior, or if not, at least equal level to what they are accustomed to overseas.
Here at the International Trade Center, we come across quite a few small to mid-sized companies. What would you say to those small to mid-sized businesses about doing business in Malta? What advice would you give them?
Well, I'd start off with a preamble by telling them we realize that because we're a population of 400,000, which isn't large, we realize that we can only survive by looking overseas. And by looking overseas, not just for markets, but also for investment. Therefore, having recognized that, we have set up our services to make sure that everybody comes and feels comfortable in a business-friendly environment where you have a secure, rule of law type situation, where they go basically to an organization called Malta Enterprise, which provides them basically with a one-stop shop. If they need a factory, they'll give them a factory ready. They will provide them with, if they need offices, they will provide them with offices, they provide them with all the facilities, plus obviously the incentives that come with it, so that they can get off as in the shortest time possible. At the end of the day, we are not talking about employing a lot of people. We are talking about employing people, a few people relatively speaking, who are highly educated and who at least have the world as a framework.
Ambassador Miceli, I thank you for taking the time, for coming in here today at the Ronald Reagan Building, an international trade center, and telling us a little bit about Malta.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers.